We invite you to listen to the following discussion by Supreme Master Ching Hai with association members in Shihu Formosa on February 19, 1996, entitled, Be Responsible for Your Own Actions.
Let's be serious and become Buddha and things like that. Oh, there's such a serious story that I dare not even open it. So much seriousness in there. Let's tell you some story about the Buddha. Huh? One of the Buddha's previous reincarnation. The Buddha is supposed to have so many incarnations, perhaps like us. What it means is perhaps the Buddha nature that is supposed to be condensed in some form and became such and such a personage or such and such a being, even animals or devas or human being. Now, there is a story concerning one of the Buddha's previous lifetime. And in that lifetime, he was a householder, which is named pacifier. At one time, thus I have heard, the enlightened one was residing in the city of Sravasti at the Chetavana monastery in Anatakapikindika Kapaka. You know already that place, very difficult to pronounce. At that time, there were 500 beggars in that place, in that vicinity, and who relied upon the Buddha and the Sangha for sustenance. I wonder how they do that. Probably they came and ate the leftover, or maybe they came and hang around and see everyone who offer food for the Sanghas and the Buddha, and then they probably partake some of it. That could be done too. Most of the time, as when I was in India, in many ashrams, it happened like this. Or if you travel around the Far East, like Burma, Thailand, or Cambodia, etc., you will see around the temple, even now, or the church, there are plenty of people begging for food. Because the people, the visitors who came to such temples or holy places would have much liked to do merit, to sow the seed of goodness, so that in the next life they will become richer, something like that. Or some people do it out of charitable heart, compassion. So many beggars would hang around such holy places in order to get their daily necessities. So one day in the Chetavana park, suddenly the 500 beggars came to the Buddha and begged him to ordain them into monkhood. They said to him, "Compassionate Lord, through your mercy and the mercy of the brotherhood, we have been fed. Now we desire that you bestow great merit upon us and let us become Sangha members." That means to become monk. Okay. So the Buddha said to them, "The Dharma which I teach is totally pure and makes no distinction between race or caste, between rich or poor, between good or bad. It is like washing in pure water. The water washes all races and castes, rich and poor, good and bad, without distinction. It is like the fire which burns all substances without exception, mountain, rocks, sky, and earth. My teaching is like the sky under which all find a place, men, women, boys, girls, rich, poor, and all without exception." Of course, that means he accepted the beggars to become the disciples, monastic disciples. Now, the beggars rejoiced and believed when they heard what the Lord said, and again requested permission to join the order. Not yet. Oh yes, now he said welcome. I thought he already accepted. They talk a lot in the old time. Huh? Instead of saying okay, they talk a lot and then request it again and again. Perhaps that was the etiquette of the old time. You have to request it, the Buddha, twice or 3 times to show your sincerity and earnestness in following him. So at this time, the Lord said, welcome. And their hair and beards fell away. They were dressed in the yellow robes of the order and became monks. When the Lord had instructed them in the Dharma, their minds became liberated, their outflows were stopped, and they became arhats. 500 beggars became arhats. When certain high caste householders and merchant princes who lived in that country heard that the wretched beggars had been accepted into the order, they were very offended and said to each other, if we were to invite the Buddha and the noble Sangha in order to create virtue, and these beggars will also sit above us, let us have obeisance to them, etc., then we would be deviled. It means they would divide them, the beggars' Sangha. So upon a certain occasion, Prince Victorious invited the Buddha and the Sangha, but said to the Buddha thus, O Lord, I invited the Buddha and the Sangha, but those beggars who have lately become monks are not invited. So they make distinction. Do you think it's good? No? Okay. The next day, when it was time for the Lord and his disciples to go to the prince's house, the Buddha told those monks who had not been invited, the master of gifts has not invited you. Do go to the northern continent and obtain wild rice that has been neither sown nor reaped. Bring it to the master of gifts' house and eat it there. So immediately, in accordance with the Buddha's command, they flew with the spiritual powers of the arhats to the northern continents, filled their begging bowls with rice, then in beautiful formation like wild geese in the sky, flew back to the palace of the Prince Victorious. Wow. Sat down in a row and ate the special rice. When Prince Victorious saw the monks come flying through the sky in lovely formation, he was astonished, rejoiced, and believed. Then he asked the Buddha, O Lord, where have these magnificent, splendid, virtuous, holy, wise men came from? So the Buddha said, you should recognize them, no? Listen, well, Prince, I shall tell you about them. These monks are those whom you did not invite. Because you did not invite them, so they have to go to northern continent and obtain the wild rice to eat. Wow. What do you think if you are the Prince Victorious in this case? How do you feel? Feel good, no? Shame, huh? Terrible, huh? I'm also too ashamed to read further. Do you think I should read further or not? When Prince Victorious heard this, he was overcome with shame. Wow, you were very intelligent. You guessed correctly. He was very ashamed of himself. Repented what he had done, and then said to the Buddha, "It was because I was obstructed by ignorance that I did not understand about these holy men and refused to invite them. Lord, your virtue is beyond conception. Although these holy men were low-caste beggars in this country, through the Lord's mercy they have found joy in the world and have obtained benefits for a long time to come. O Lord, your coming into the world is for such as these. I beg you to explain what root of virtue these beggars planted in order to meet you and attain liberation, and because of what former sins were they first born as beggars." So this is concerning, say, karma, So the Buddha said, the Buddha begins to explain the cause and effect of this story, why the 500 people became beggars, and why they have attained a hardship later. So he explained like this. In times long past, aeons beyond recall, there was a mountain called many rishis, a mountain, not a person, in the land of Benares. You know Benares? In India, In India. Where many Pateka Buddhas lived and would continue to live until a Buddha appeared in the world. There is a difference between Pateka Buddhas and a living Buddha. A living Buddha has more power, more wisdom, and can teach our sentient beings and can deliver them out of ignorance into liberations. But Pateka Buddhas, they attain, enlightenment to some degree by themselves, and therefore they don't have the method to teach others, and they did not find a way to teach other people. So they still have to wait for the Almighty Buddha to come and then maybe help him, or maybe study further with him and then continue to help sentient beings. So at that time, the Pateka Buddhas are living in this mountain called many rishis and waiting for a real Buddha to come. Even if the Pateka Buddhas did not reside in that mountain, there are many rishis with magical powers also live there. So at one time, when there were 2,000 rishis living on the mountain, a soothsayer foretold that for 12 years there would be no rain. The rishis is someone who has attained a lot of magical power, including flying through the air perhaps, and seeing through 1,000 miles, seeing through walls and obstacles and things like that. And they are very virtuous too. So that's why they're called rishis. The rishis thereupon went to a wealthy householder by the name of Pacifier, who lived in that land, and asked if he would offer them food and drink for 12 years, and said to the householder that if he would not, they would go elsewhere. The householder told them, "Holy Rishi, do not go anywhere else. Remain here, I beg you, and I shall make offerings for 12 years. Because there will not be raining for 12 years, so the Rishi was coming to this householder and asking him for a secure offering for 12 years. So the householders then asked his treasurer if there were enough supplies to feed the holy man for 12 years. And when told that there were enough, so the householder appointed 500 men to serve the rishis. When the 500 men had served for some time, they became tired and began to murmur among themselves that it was too much trouble to care for the beggars. Now, at that time, there was a certain man who called the rishis at mealtime and who had a dog that followed him. One day the man forgot to call the rishis, but the dog ran to them, began to bark, and the rishi knew that the food was ready and went to receive it. Sometime later, the rishis told the householder that the rains were soon coming and that he must prepare his fields for the sowing of the seeds. The householder directed his field workers to begin work in the fields, and they planted barley, wheat, and many other kinds of crops. When the seeds had sprouted and were as high as water pots, the householder went to the rishis and asked if there would be a good yield. So the rishis said that the crops would be good and advised him to irrigate from time to time. When the crops were harvested, it was found that the yield was manifold, and the householder rejoiced when his storeroom were filled. So when the 500 men who had served the rishis saw this manifestation of their power, they feel very ashamed, felt very remorseful, and confessed to the holy men, saying that, "Holy ones, we humiliated you with our evil words, and we confess our sin. In future times, may we again meet you and attain liberation." It was because of those evil words against the rishis that those 500 men were reborn as miserable beggars through 500 lifetimes. Later, by having confessed their sins and having made a vow, they have met me and reached the end of the circle of birth and death. Prince, you should understand this. I was the householder called pacifier. Udiyana was the treasurer. Udiyana was one of the Master Buddha's disciples at that time. And you, Prince Victorious, were the men who daily called the rishis at the mealtime. You, whose name is Good Voice, were the dog. There's another person next to the prince called Good Voice. Were the dog. And because you have called the holy man once only by barking at that mealtime, so you have a good voice throughout all your lifetimes. These 500 beggars are the 500 serving men at that time. When the Buddha had thus spoken, some in the great assembly attained from the first to the fourth fruits. Some brought forth a mind of supreme enlightenment, and all had faith in the words of the Lord and rejoiced in their heart. The story finished. Most of the story in these books are telling us how much benefit one would derive from offering anything to the Sangha members or to the people who are practicing spiritual meditation. Even the rishis, they were not perhaps the Buddhas, but they have followed the way of righteousness and the way of truth, and they practice to attain the wisdom to the certain extent, and they would have not strayed to the evil path. Therefore, these people are worthy of offering of sentient beings, and whoever make offering to these people will attain a lot of virtues, merits throughout all their lives in the material existence, and finally will meet a Buddha, a living Buddha, and then attain liberation or the supreme enlightenment. Even a dog, you have seen, a dog out of good heart bark at the rishis just to tell them that the meal is ready. And just because he did only that thing, and he has been born as a human being for many, many lifetimes, and he has a beautiful voice. And finally he met the Buddha when he was born in India, and also practiced with him together with the prince. Now the prince victorious, normally he would not have had generated such a discriminating mind towards any Sangha members, be it beggars or noble persons. But it was because of the karma, the bad karma of the beggars in the previous lifetime. You remember when they were the serving men under the Buddha's household when he was a layman. Therefore, because they have earned this bad karma, so when they met the prince victorious, he intuitively felt that these people are not to be included in his invitation. But nevertheless, even though it was a karma, but the prince victorious should not have discriminated thus. But it wasn't even his fault as well, so we can't blame him. It was the karma of the 500 beggars in a previous lifetime. Therefore, you see, whatever happened to us is not without a cause. This story teaches us patience, acceptance, and endurance in whatever test in life when the Lord of Karma has chosen to bestow upon us in order to cleanse us out of our previous sins, our previous mistakes. Thus, the 5 precepts that we keep, of course, including loving kindness and endurance, be patient and all that. It is because so that we do not sow the bad seed for the future. And whatever bad karma in the past, we will just patiently, lovingly accept until the karma is finished. For example, in this story, the 500 beggars, even though they have been sowing a very bad deeds in the past life, but they have repented, and then so the deed of the past life has left them for good. After the 500 lifetimes that they have, paid their retribution to their deeds. Now, even just to feel lazy a few times and to feel that the rishis are not worthy of veneration and offering, just to feel it in their heart and to speak a few words of disrespect. These 500 people have to be beggars for 500 lifetimes, enduring a lot of hardship, suffering, hunger, cold, and degradation, from a lot of other people because of their position and their lifestyle. And then even after they have paid all their retribution to the sins, and then they met the Buddha, they have become the Sangha, but even then, a little bit of residue of this disrespect karma from their past life is still hanging, lingering around the atmosphere of their surrounding. That's why the Prince Victorious, out of nowhere, still smell it, still can taste it, still can see it, can feel it with his intuition. That's why he reacts thus, like he did not want to invite them to his banquet of offering. So actually, whatever we did or we do even though no one knows it, even though nobody, that those persons have never seen us doing these things before, or have never met us even, they would still detect something from our aura, from our energy field, our magnetic field, and then they reacted accordingly. That's why we must take care all the time to keep ourselves pure, impeccably pure, clean, and consciously strive to keep it always like this. Otherwise, whatever happened to us, we cannot blame anyone else. Now we may ask ourselves, then what did the Buddha do? Or what did Jesus do that they have deserved such a very terrible treatment from other people? These are different cases. You have heard that the master always have to take some of the burden of karma of the disciples. Thus, when the Buddhas or Master Jesus has taken upon themselves so much sins of their disciples or the people who believed in him without seeing even, or the people who prayed to them for help from afar, just hearing their name once and believe, these people will also automatically share some of the burden of their karma to the master, and the master will be willingly taken upon themselves for the benefit of these people. Of course, when the master generously accepted too many karma from other people, then this karma has to be ironed out in some way. You see what I mean? That's why most of the masters, since ancient time up till now, undergoing untold hardship, suffering, just because of the sins of other people. Otherwise, those masters who came from such a very high level of consciousness, came from heaven, from very far away places of highly developed spiritual beings, spiritual places, can never know even what karma is, can never think in their heart the word evil, never mind doing evil things. In those places where the master resides, karma does not exist even. Evil does not exist. Nothing negative will enter the mind, the thought, the speak, the body of the beings who resides in the places where the master is. You see, so the master can never do anything wrong, would never had any karma at all before they were born, after born, during their lifetime. They would never have any karma by themselves. But by taking upon some of the karma of the disciples or the followers, the believers, the poor in the heart and the needy, they would suffer for them. As I told you the story yesterday about the fan, the man who fanned the wealthy person, and all the sweat from the wealthy person gone, and then the fanning person begin to sweat. Oh, that is very natural, huh? Or the priest who keep listening to the people who have headache, and later the person who came with headaches gone. Headaches gone, the person gone, but the priest has the headache himself. It is a psychological exchange. It's absolutely true. I must tell you the truth. But because every master knows this, every master knows that whatever goodness he does to mankind, he will reap, the bad reward. Every master knows this. Not that they do it without knowing, but because they are very generous in their heart, very compassionate. Also, they are very courageous. They have no fear of whatever thing that happened to them. They have no fear of evil, no fear of hell, no fear of anything. That's how they became master. If we have fear in our heart, fear to take burdens of other people, fear to give away our spiritual merit, fear to help other people in need, then we cannot become the master because we're not ready for it. Of course, the master fear too. You know what I mean? But fear doesn't mean reject. Fear doesn't mean to be afraid of the things, but fear of the nature of the thing. For example, take an example. Your baby is sick. Your baby is sick. And the doctor say to you that you should not touch the baby, you should not be near the baby too much, otherwise you will get the sickness of the baby. And besides, if you stay around the baby too long and you don't sleep enough, you will probably, get sick yourself or ruin yourself, your health and things like that. But you know that. It's not that you love the disease. It's not that you don't fear the sickness or the tiredness of staying awake all night taking care of the baby. It's not that you don't fear. It's not that you don't know. It's not that you love all this burden. You know all it. You don't like it. You don't love these things. But because of the love for the baby, you ignore all this hardship. And you can stay awake all night. And you don't mind if you get caught with the disease. You even willing, if possible, to take all the disease from the baby upon yourself, as long as your baby is relieved from the suffering. And that is the love from the parents to the children. Similarly, all the Buddhas in the 10 directions, the masters, have the same love. They might scold the disciples, just like the parents scold the children. Sometimes very harshly. The parents sometimes scold the children very harshly when they do something wrong. But the love never lessen, never become less because of the children naughtiness. Just because the parents scolding them or the children are naughty doesn't mean the parents will have less love for them ever, never. So that is a strange thing that happens in this world. That the parents love the children, doesn't matter how bad they are. Doesn't matter how ugly they look to everybody else. The parents love them dearly and wouldn't love the best children of the neighbor, right? Not in the same way. Probably they will just love all the children, but they would never love the best behaved children of the neighbor as much as they love their naughty children of their own. Is that not so? Similarly, the masters look upon all sentient beings as their own children. That's why they can bear all the suffering and they can offer all their best to them without ever feeling regret. They might say something, but they would never regret in their heart. Just like the parents sometimes say to the children, I wish you were never born. I wish I don't have such a children like you. You're terrible. Yeah? You're naughty. You make me headache. You don't listen to me. Oh, look at the neighbor. Aren't they better than you? Things like that. They say like this, but without their heart meaning anything. You understand? That is a strange thing about parents and children. And that is similar strange things about master and disciples. Their story about monks again. Well, there's nothing else but monks and monks. Or you like to hear about the monkeys? Yes. There was a monk who has become a monkey. Yeah. Long time ago. When there was a Buddha who came into this world to preach the Dharma, the truth, yeah. And then there were many monks who studied under him. And there were some monks who has been already attained the fruit of arhat. But many people did not know that. So other monks sometimes make fun of them because some of them don't look very good. You know, it looks a little bit funny. Especially one monk was very, very bad, very naughty. Every time he saw one of the monks running down the hill, he said to them, you look like a monkey running down. So because of that, because he criticized that monk and calling him monkey, in 500 lifetimes he must be born as a monkey. So take care, don't laugh at the monk. Because monk and monkey only difference is in two letters, yeah? Anyhow, if you make fun of an ordinary monk, maybe it's all right. But if that monk has already attained the fruit of arahantship, then you'll be in trouble. And you would never know which monk has already became arhat, yeah? Which monk has already attained a very high level of spiritual practice. Life is ephemeral, huh? They must be vegetarian for 3 months, and who knows what happened between 3 months. And sometimes not only 3 months they get it, they have to wait for 8 months or 1 year. If I don't have enough Kuan Yin messenger to send to them, then they must wait longer. And you know what it's like when you keep waiting for initiation. You know how you feel. Many of you must know the longing, the desperation during the time that you wait for initiation, because you know life is ephemeral, or you might not get it before you leave this world, and the time is so short, you might not have enough time to practice. That is why the world is in chaos, because we do not carry out God's will, but we obstruct with many of our ego, and then we make a lot of trouble for the kingdom of heaven to descend upon earth.